junctions with the A1065 and the A134 Thetford West, has one lane closed due to a collision, causing delays of about 20 minutes. And on the trains, there are cross-country delays between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst, and further disruptions between Birmingham New Street and Nuneaton. Additionally, Great Western Railway services are experiencing issues between Portsmouth Harbour and Fareham. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with, each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air news channel.
It's House of Lords Day, or is it just the House of Cronies? Is Keir Starmer being a terrific hypocrite, or is it because the government are having trouble getting legislation through? I bet you've seen Venezuela on the news all day and wondered to yourself, what's going on and why? We'll try and explain it to you. And guess what? Officially now we're told that net zero is making us much poorer, but the government appear not to want to change track. And the World Darts Championship's about to start. We're joined by former world champion Keith Deller. And we ask, why has darts once again become so popular? But before all of that, let's get the news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Good evening to you. 7 o'clock in the GB News. Sir Keir Starmer has urged doctors to do the responsible thing and call off next week's 5-day strike as the NHS warns of a worst-case scenario in the run-up to Christmas. The doctors' union's consulting members about a new government offer aimed at ending the long-running dispute over pay and conditions. The offer includes extra training and covers expenses incurred for exams, but makes no promises of extra pay. They are due to make an announcement on Monday. Sir Keir Starmer says the offer is dependent on the union calling off the strike.
They are being irresponsible, in my view. We have already put in place quite a significant pay rise. There are other issues that they're concerned about, which we've been listening to, and we put an offer on the table to deal with those issues. But that offer can only go forward if they don't take strike action, particularly in the run-up to Christmas, particularly when we've got a problem with flu. It would be irresponsible of BMA to push through. And I think for many resident doctors, I think, in their heart of hearts, they probably don't want to do this.
The new government offer comes amid a sharp rise in flu cases, with the number of people hospitalised in England up by 55% in the last week. NHS England says more than 2,600 people are admitted to hospital with flu. That was every day last week. And it's warning the number could rise to 8,000 by the end of this week. The number of norovirus patients in hospital has also risen by 35%. Cases of flu in Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales have also increased by about a quarter, but at a slower rate. Doctors say the current wave is expected to peak during that planned doctor strike, scheduled to start on the 17th of December. President Zelensky says the US is pushing for Ukraine to withdraw from areas it controls in the east of the country to create a free economic zone. The US was previously pushing for Ukraine to hand over parts of the Donbass to Russia. Mr. Zelensky says the new compromise wouldn't be fair without guarantees that Moscow would not simply take over the zone after Ukraine's withdrawal. Meanwhile, in Berlin, the NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has warned that Europe faces the prospect of war if Vladimir Putin is rewarded with his demands in Ukraine.
We are Russia's next target. And we are already in harm's way. I fear that too many are quietly complacent. Too many don't feel the urgency. And too many believe that time is on our side.
And the Queen's been getting into the festive spirit by hosting children with life-limiting conditions at Clarence House. Camilla welcomed her guests with a winter wonderland scene, complete with Father Christmas, reindeers and a sleigh. After serving Christmas lunch, she said, "To me, it's the start of Christmas. I haven't really got my head around it until I come here and I realise it is about to happen." The annual tradition is now in its 20th year. Those are your headlines. Now it's back to Nigel.
It's House of Lords time, and guess what? 25 Labour peers have been appointed, 5 Liberal Democrats and 3 Conservatives. But I wonder, is Keir Starmer being a hypocrite? I mean, here he was in the House of Commons a couple of years ago.
Honour should be for public service, not Tory cronies. Yeah! But, Mr. Speaker, isn't this the case? He was too weak to block Johnson's list. And that also means that those who spent their time helping cover up Johnson's law-breaking are rewarded by becoming lawmakers for the rest of their lives.
But in a TV interview in 2022, he showed us he was a genuine radical on the House of Lords.
You abolish the House of Lords, and will it be in your first term?
Yes, we do want to abolish the House of Lords. I don't think anybody can defend the House of Lords.
But 25 have been appointed. Now, interestingly, Alison McGovern, Minister, came out onto the media this morning and made this argument, and just listen carefully to what she says.
The issue is, after 14 years of Conservative government and the number of people that they put in the House of Lords, it is in no way balanced in the way that it ought to be constitutionally. We were elected on a manifesto. We should be able to get our manifesto commitments through the House of Lords. We're appointing new peers from various walks of life, along with other parties. That is, at the moment, the only way that people can be put into the House of Lords.
Now, Alison McGovern is right in one regard. If a government has been elected on a manifesto, it is not for the House of Lords to obstruct it. It's called the Salisbury Convention. It's been in place for well over a century. But in this case, where the House of Lords are delaying legislation, asking questions, these are all areas that were not in the Labour manifesto. So I don't think the constitutional argument she puts up, though it could be correct, but in this circumstance, it's not. And guess what? I wonder how many peers Reform got. Absolutely none. The fact we've led the last 150 polls, the fact that every other small party, I'd say small by a House of Commons representation, does have representation in the Lords, absolutely nothing for Reform at all. And I did write a very polite letter to the Prime Minister 3 months ago to make the case that we needed a voice of some kind there. And, you know, I didn't even get the courtesy of a reply. And that really did surprise me, because I used to think that Starmer was basically a pretty reasonable bloke with whom I just disagreed on policy. I'm not quite so sure. I think he's part of an establishment that is not only shutting down free speech, but literally wants to shut Reform out of the whole political system. Well, I think it's pretty appalling. Now, friends of GB News can vote in the referendum we've been holding today. You decide. Scan the QR code. And the question we're asking is, should the House of Lords be abolished? Yes or no? Tell us what you think. I'm joined tonight on the panel by Sir Michael Ellis, former Attorney General, and the noble Baroness Hayter from the House of Lords, Labour peer and former shadow leader of the House of Lords. Now, he's a bit of a hypocrite, isn't he? Or is the counter-argument that every government says it's going to do something to the House of Lords and just carries on the same way?
Well, it is true that every government says it's going to tame the House of Lords, and that goes on, and it's gone on. I've got some stuff written by Attlee going back years, and before that by Lasky. So, it is an ongoing one. I mean, I think there's a really interesting argument about why we need a second chamber. I absolutely believe that we do need a second one. I don't think we should just have a single chamber where, obviously, the government always has a majority there and can get things through. Where I disagree with you is that some of the stuff that the opposition are voting down was in the manifesto.
Such as?
Like first-day rights. I happen to think we've made a good compromise on that, but actually it was in the manifesto. It's been a very strong commitment. But the big issue is that at the moment, the opposition, the two opposition parties between them, got 150 votes more than the government's peers. And that can't be right. And it's partly because Labour was out of office for so long, 14 years, that an awful lot of Conservative peers were put in at that time, and also during the coalition, a lot of Lib Dem peers. So there's 150 more of them than us.
Yeah, I mean, the most extraordinary thing is there are over 100 Liberal Democrat peers, which I find quite extraordinary. And as for the Prime Minister not even having the courtesy to respond to my letter, don't reform deserve some representation?
I think every letter should be answered, by the way, and I don't know why that hasn't happened. I have to say, you're not alone. I have occasionally not had my letters answered either. But I think we do have to sort that out, and I don't think that's. Of course, you did for a day or two.
Well, we did.
You did have somebody in the House of Lords. I think even today you may still have him.
So yes, I mean, to explain, on Saturday, Lord Offord stood on stage and announced he was defecting to Reform, but he did say, "Today I'm Lord Offord, but tomorrow I'm going to be Malcolm from Greenock." so he's, which I thought was quite stylish, actually.
Interestingly, why did he leave the Lords?
Because he wants to run for the Scottish Parliament.
And the Scottish Parliament doesn't allow you to do both. Is that correct?
Right. That's
okay.
right. That's right. So, he took a very principled position.
That's fine.
I mean, constitutionally, Michael, I mean, Nigel, it just seems outrageous.
It is. Look, the hypocrisy, first of all, is breathtaking. To say in 2022 I'm going to abolish it and then make unprecedentedly large numbers while giving opposition parties tiny numbers.
And proper cronies, too. Proper cronies.
They're not cronies.
No. Without looking at the individuals.
The
fact is, first of all, if you're going to have 25 Labour peers appointed, why have the Liberal Democrats got 5?
Yes.
And the official opposition, His Majesty's loyal opposition, only got 3. And that's what's leading to this. People who are understandably saying it stinks because it's about fixing votes. And the hereditary peers who do an awful lot of really good work in the House of Lords, they're going to go. Most of them apparently statistically tended to vote Conservative a lot of the time. So the feeling is that once you're getting rid of all of these hereditary peers who do great work, and then you're adding very large numbers of Labour peers and only tiny numbers of opposition peers, most of whom are going to vote with your lot anyway, it stinks to high heaven.
Michael, your government did exactly that. That's why there is this imbalance.
Well, it wasn't far.
Come on.
We
got hardly any.
I will say this. No. In fact, the Tories gave a fair number to far more than Keir is giving to the opposition parties now.
But you've already got 80 more than us.
The fact is, it's also wrong, in my view. Reform should have at least one peer.
Something.
You look at the Greens and Plaid Cymru and other small parties.
And the Northern Irish parties.
So even if it's just one, and I think ignoring the letter is wrong in principle, and that should not happen.
I have to say I was quite surprised. No, they are cronies. I mean, they're former people that have worked for the Chancellor.
Come on, some of them have been leaders of local government. We've got people who led Lewisham, which is a big borough, Newcastle, and
have a look
others.
how that's going. Well, you couldn't argue they were successful in local government, could you?
Well, come on,
Look,
Newcastle was
where I will
brilliantly
agree
run.
with Diane is I'm a fan of the House of Lords as an institution. That's not to say it doesn't need radical reform. I think it does need radical reform, but I think it does important work. I think it does do what it says on the tin, which is a revising chamber, a checking chamber. It has more time to go into detail.
And I agree with both of you on that.
So in that sense, I think it works, and I'm an admirer of members of the Lords and the work that they do. That's not to say it doesn't need reform, and I think what's happened over a consistently long period of time now is that things have become broken, and it is in need of a good shake-up.
Does it feel like the winds of change are about to come to the Lords? I mean, you're there, you're active.
Yes, I hope that is happen. That will happen, because, you know, we ourselves in the House of Lords, we want to be smaller. We'd like to be smaller than the House of Commons.
Is it 820 now, or more than that?
It is on paper. To be truthful, only about 500 actually participate. There are a lot of people now who are old and don't come, but nevertheless, my view is they should go if they're not pulling their weight, and we should reduce our numbers.
The smoke and mirrors involved with Keir's announcement. This is what we really have to address, because it's not about the numbers, it's about who votes with who. If you actually look at the last Tory government, they lost most of their votes in the House of Lords because the Lib Dems almost always vote with Labour.
Yeah.
Many of the crossbenchers vote with Labour, and therefore, when you just look at the Labour numbers, you say, oh, there's far fewer Labour MPs than there are peers than there are Tory peers. But that's not the actual full picture. That's why it's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
You actually add all the oppositions up together and how the votes tend to go, and the bishops, of course, almost exclusively vote with Labour. So when you add them all up together, Labour actually wins, about 80% of the time.
Not at the moment. We're not. We're getting hammered at the moment.
But the public, I don't know what this poll is. I know.
It's a shame you've used the word abolish, because I think with Michael, we need to say can we radically make this better?
I agree with you.
Doing the job that it needs to do.
I agree with you, but as it is currently constituted, if there was a national referendum to abolish the Lords, it would overwhelmingly pass.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, it would. People see it as a house of cronies. We've been through the cash for honours scandals that have plagued British politics since the time of Lloyd George. Frank, well, they have, haven't they?
They have. But look, there's nothing new about that. I mean, we're waiting for you to be Duke of Clacton, Nigel. I mean, that's what I think, we're waiting for. But look, there are issues with the Lords. Let's not pretend that there aren't. Nobody is here in this studio pretending that there isn't. The fact is, though, that this latest manoeuvring by Starmer, it does stink, I'm afraid. And
it looks hypocritical.
It looks hypocritical.
But
He's on camera
warned the
saying...
Conservatives before. We kept saying, if you don't do something to reduce your numbers, then the only thing we're going to be able to do when we get into government is to put in more to give us the numbers. And we warn them and we warn them. And I heard, I wasn't there at the time, that before 1999, when there were a lot of hereditaries, but we were in government, the Conservatives would beat us, but only by a few. And they would say...
But Diane, Tony Blair appointed hundreds of...
300 and something.
Hundreds of Labour, ex-Labour MPs.
That was over 11
But that's what... So when the Tories came in after Tony, then they were no doubt saying the same thing as you are now.
Well, we've got the result of this poll that we've been running on GBNews all day. Should the House of Lords be abolished? And I agree it's a rather simplistic question, but the answer's 85% of you say, yeah, get rid of it.
Do I have to leave the studio now?
No. But I agree with both of you that the idea that there is a second chamber that doesn't obstruct advertised business in a manifesto, but can say to the government,
think again.
Whether it's assisted diet, whatever it might be, think again. That is what we need. I just suspect it needs an elected element, doesn't it, to have legitimacy?
I think I wouldn't be against an indirectly elected element. I don't want a directed... I mean, I think there's a problem. If the majority in the Lords is the same as in the Commons, effectively you don't have a second chamber.
You can't really do an elected... I don't think you can do an elected thing, because...
I did say partly.
Well, the problem is you'll weaken the authority of the Commons. Once you introduce elections into the upper chamber, that's what's always pushed back.
And this was the very argument that brought together Michael Foot and Enoch Powell back in 1968.
Nothing ever changes.
We've been going round the houses forever on it. In a moment, let us talk, shall we, about Venezuela, because I bet you've seen it on the news today and thought, what on earth is going on? What are the Americans trying to achieve? We will attempt to explain that to you after the break.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So what is going on in Venezuela? You'll have been aware that Donald Trump and his administration are very, very opposed to the Maduro regime in Venezuela. They thought the elections that took place there last year were corrupt and bent and wrong. And you've probably been aware there's been quite a big US fleet, not anchored, but off Venezuela. Well, overnight, dramatic news that a really sizable oil tanker was taken, a Venezuelan tanker taken by the Americans. This is how the Department of Homeland Security announced the news.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my pants, putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom, explosion.
I'm not quite sure I believe that. But that actually is what happened. That was the footage they put out with that music, all of it confirmed late last night our time by President Donald Trump.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. No, it was seized for a very good reason.
So what is that good reason? Is it drugs? Is it illicit oil? Is he attempting regime change? I'm sure those of you who listened to the news this morning, saw the news this morning, would have been asking yourself those questions. I'm going to try and get some answers. So let's go straight to the USA and talk to Andres Martinez Fernandez, Senior Policy Analyst for Latin America at the Heritage Foundation. Andres, the president says it was done for a good reason. What was it?
Well, I think the good reason is confronting a dramatic and destabilizing threat to not just the United States, but the American people, and that is the narco-terrorist regime of Nicolas Maduro. This is a regime that has weaponized mass migration. Over 8 million Venezuelans have fled that country because of the crisis, of the repression, and the violence that the regime has deployed against its own people. But beyond that, you've also seen the deployment of criminal groups like the Tren de Aragua, which is a Venezuelan gang, which was born and bred in Venezuela, now popping up across the hemisphere, including the United States. And additionally, these narco-trafficking threats, which the regime has very much embraced and weaponized. The Venezuelan military is more concerned in many aspects with the drug trade, maintaining that and enriching itself and the regime through that than it is with any of the traditional responsibilities of a military. And all of these are signs that, again, this is an illicit regime. It's not an actual government, and it's a threat to the United States and the American people.
So if I read between the lines, Andres, of what you're saying there and the list of reasons you've given, the truth is It's really about regime change, isn't it? It's about toppling Maduro.
Well, I think the term regime change is complicated to apply here because this is not a real regime. This is not a leader that has any rights to power in Venezuela. This is someone who has blatantly stolen elections against the opposition there, not only after weaponizing the media, weaponizing its tools of power and repression in an election, but after all that, it just came out and provided blatantly false numbers that were easily falsifiable and showed a false result that preserved in its mind its right to rule. But the reality is that ended last year. This leader, Nicolas Maduro, no longer has a rightful claim to power there. And so regime change, I don't think, is appropriate. In reality, it's about restoring stability and
without Maduro. Without Maduro.
I think that's right. I don't see any way in which Nicolas Maduro is an actor that preserves stability or advances stability and security. He's deeply engaged personally, and his allies within the regime deeply engaged personally in all of these threats, and they have been key in accelerating instability and criminality across our hemisphere.
Andres, thank you very much indeed. Well, Michael Ellis, that actually was a very good summary, I thought, that we got there. I think we got to the truth at the end,
Regime change. I think actually there's a couple of things going on here, Nigel, as you've rightly identified. Look, first of all, Venezuela has been poking the bear for years now, both under Maduro and Chavez before him and so on. And the bear is striking back. There is no doubt that thousands of Americans die every year because of narcotics. President Trump has taken the view that he's going to go, I think, for the head of the beast rather than the bit players. And this oil tanker being intercepted is a way of dealing with Venezuela. I think also, perhaps it's worth noting this, there are some allegations in some quarters that Venezuela is in cahoots with Iran on sanctions busting. And then this oil tanker had 1.1 million tons of oil in it. And if there's sanctions busting going on with Iran to evade US sanctions, then America will say it has an interest there.
There's a lot of reasons here, Diane, a lot of reasons here. I mean, do you feel queasy about America doing this?
I feel very queasy. I find it extraordinary that Trump seems unworried that Mr. Putin is not actually democratically elected, that he's invaded another country, that's a corrupt regime. And it doesn't seem to worry him. So his...
I guess the argument, from maybe not from his, but from an American perspective, would be that Venezuela's in their backyard and directly affecting them.
Well, I think that if Europe is very destabilised, it will affect them. During the Second World War, they thought it was nothing to do with them.
And historically they're good at this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wouldn't be as... But it is very odd that he just takes one regime and says, well, I don't like that particular regime, I don't think they're right, therefore I have a right to involve myself, and then will not support Europe when we're trying to do exactly the same to support Ukraine against,
Venezuela is a very different beast from Russia.
I think for the point of view of the future of the peace of the world, I'm not sure about that. I think Russia is very challenging.
I mean, that's broadening out to a bigger debate. And I get the logic of the argument, but 8 million people fleeing in the country is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Venezuela is effectively a narco-state, and its leadership, for what it's worth, illegitimate as it is in terms of a democratic mandate, has created a situation in Venezuela that is causing people to flee and creating terrorist proxies and so on. So it's in America's backyard. America feels directly affected because of the prevalence of drugs coming into mainland United States territories, and they are choosing to act here. If Iran is also involved in terms of benefiting from sanctions busting, that they're violating US sanctions, that would be another rationale that President Trump is probably applying. But
Or a mixture of all of them.
Well, it probably is a mixture of all of them, and it's international waters.
But it's international waters, and what will be important is that whether this meets the test of international law and the law of the sea, because I think if, again, he starts breaching that we as a nation always keep to. I mean, you know, we've got a former Attorney General here who I'm sure will have been very clear about keeping to international law.
This all depends about flags.
Yes.
No, it does. It all gets down to flags.
It does, but also, no matter what the flag...
I can't comment on that.
No matter what the flag, there are also rules about when you can take either the vehicle or in this case, a ship, or the stuff that's on it.
So the law of the sea...
Is it after the cargo, or is it after the ship?
As I understand it, the law of the sea allows boarding and checking if there's not a clear, identifiable, legitimate flag. That's as I understand it.
But if it's got a Venezuelan flag...
Any country can act, if you like, as in international waters as a policing action.
Yeah.
And here they've made a determination. The flag is important, the location is important, the provenance is important. All of these things have to be weighed up. It's not a binary yes or no. Very often it's a complex degree of arguments. And the law of the sea is sometimes actually applied when it comes to the small boats coming across the English Channel. So it's like so many things, it's how you interpret or how a court interprets these things. The Americans, unlike the UK, don't allow themselves to be subjugated by international tribunals. They are fiercely protective of their sovereignty, and they will do what they think is right.
And there was a time, of course, when the British, when the Royal Navy, boarded ships at sea all over the world to drive out the slave trade.
The West Africa Squadron did exactly that.
They did that, and they did it very well, absolutely.
Yeah, and most of the 19th century, and by the way, at the cost of thousands of British lives.
I wish...
And did more to end slavery down there.
But that isn't taught in schools.
Well, interesting enough, a friend of mine's just written a book about intra-African slavery, where all this is nicely set out. I know it's off the issue of Venezuela,
well, I tell you what,
it is really interesting.
I tell you what, I want to meet your friend, because this is such an amazing story in British history.
Yes.
And it should be told a lot more. Thank you for that. Well, I hope at home you're slightly clearer about the multiple reasons why the Americans took that tanker. In a moment, well. Scrapping the net zero deadline would cost, or save rather, households £500 a year. So it's out there, it's open, it's undeniable. Net zero, the idiotic pursuit of net zero, put into law by the Conservatives, now being followed with slavish devotion by Ed Miliband, is making all of you at home poorer.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Are you heading away this weekend? Well, it's turning unsettled through the Canary Islands, but there is plenty of sunshine to come for the Mediterranean. But a spell of wet weather through Friday will push through Tenerife as well as Madeira and through Lisbon as well as towards Barcelona. Plenty of cloud and outbreaks of showers for Nice. But as we look further east, high pressure dominates, and that will bring plenty of sunny and dry weather to parts of Greece in particular. So temperatures here will start to climb towards the high teens.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We do have an area of rain moving east, and it's only slowly going to make its way across the country overnight into the start of tomorrow. But having seen a damp day on Thursday in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, the rain is now clearing through, with skies clearing and temperatures falling overnight in the west and northwest. Meanwhile, it's a damp evening across Wales, the southwest, central parts of Scotland, and then that rain moves into central parts of the UK through the early hours of Friday. Ahead of it, a lot of cloud, temperatures staying in the double figures in some spots, but a colder start to Friday for much of central and western Scotland as well as Northern Ireland, having seen those clearer skies. Here's the rain first thing Friday. It's across much of Devon, Dorset, into Somerset, eastern parts of Wales, the Midlands and northern England. Mostly it's light, it's on and off, but there will be some heavier bursts involved. A stark contrast to Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, beautiful blue skies first thing. A bit colder compared with the last few mornings because of those clearer skies and lighter winds. 1 or 2 mist patches out there first thing. But for now at least, an interlude between systems of rain. And we do have showers waiting in the wings to arrive into the northwest of Scotland through the afternoon, eventually reaching parts of western Northern Ireland. But this clear slice of weather will lead to plenty of sunshine for many western parts during Friday, whilst the rain slowly clears the southeast. Then it's the southeast where we see plenty of sunshine as we begin the weekend, and we keep those sunny skies through the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast into Saturday afternoon. Elsewhere it turns cloudier and heavy rain increasingly affects parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England, especially hills of Western Scotland and North West England, North Wales as well. Risk of localised flooding.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
The nonsense that gets talked about energy bills. What did Keir Starmer tell us in the run-up to the general election? Yes, a Labour government will make sure we'll tackle the root causes of cost of living and help families save up to £300 a year on their energy bills. Trouble is, they've gone up by £200, exactly the opposite way round. But that's OK, because in the budget, he's going to cut your bills by 150 quid by putting that money into general taxation. Now, the National Energy System Operator has NESO, who are a legitimate body, have come out today and said that the net zero targets this government's pursuing, and to be fair, they were put into law by the Conservatives, will cost each household up to £500 a year between now and 2050. All of this to achieve a goal. It strikes me as being complete insanity. I'm joined by Andy Mayer in the studio, Chief Operating Officer and Energy Analyst at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Andy, for some years, there have been those of us arguing this is bonkers, that it doesn't work, that it makes people's bills more expensive. But we've been completely out in the cold, almost ostracised for daring to challenge the religion of net zero and climate change. This is quite big, isn't it, coming from NESO?
Yeah, so just to put it in context, this is an economics scenario update from NESO. So they are putting a lot of health warnings on it. They're saying these are not facts, and clearly any prediction about the future can't be a fact. But what they've said, I think possibly for the first time, is that if we go slower on net zero, just let things take their course as they're going to with technology change and everything else, then the figure you used of £500 per person per year, or £14 billion a year, is a potential saving. And then health warning, huge range, huge uncertainty, blah, blah, blah. But it's a very interesting figure, because £14 billion a year is what Nicholas Stern, the architect of the Climate Change Act, said it would cost per year to meet our net zero targets. So we've gone from 2007, 2008, saying that's all it will cost every year, to that's just the saving from slowing down. It's clearly costing billions and billions more than that, and this is money we can't afford.
Yeah, and yet, Diane, the reaction of the government is, no, we're pursuing this, it's going to be so great. And you've got people at home paying far bigger bills than they should be, other people paying more taxes to subsidise now energy bills, and Britain deindustrialising before our eyes.
Well, there's people divided into two, whether they think there's a climate crisis or not. You may be in one camp.
Let's say there is.
Let's say there is.
Let's assume there is for this argument.
Which is what. There's then the argument, well, do we deal with that now, or do we leave it to our children and grandchildren? And I think that is a big debate, because if we don't do it now, it will happen at some other time and they will still pay. And there will be other costs, not just, as you rightly say, there could be on their energy bills, but if we actually have this climate going worse, there will be other issues.
But what difference? Andy, what percentage of the world's CO2 do we produce?
It's about 0.8%.
0.8%.
This is just what I was going to say, Nigel, because in the world of virtue signalling, this really does take the biscuit. Because, frankly, the impact of China on the world's climate and other countries,
Indonesia,
is absolutely incalculable compared to us in the UK. The virtue signalling, I mean, really, Ed Miliband's plan. And what's happening, for example, in the North Sea? Even Donald Trump has spoken about how bonkers we are being with the North Sea, not utilising our resources. But the irony is, what we do is we get Norway to actually drill the oil, and then we can say, oh, well, we haven't been responsible for it. But it's still going into
And that point, Norway are ramping up production.
That's right.
Don't every 250 new drillings going to take place over the next decade?
Something like that. And just to correct one point, the China impact is calculable. It's 31% of global CO2 emissions per year. Vastly outpacing us by 50 times and the US by 3 times.
Right. So anything we do isn't going to make a difference.
Everything being made in the world is going over.
That isn't the right approach, because we know.
But it's the truth, though.
Put us and other Europeans and others together, but just sort of say, well, because there's someone doing worse than us, we shouldn't do anything.
Our people are suffering, though. But it's the fact is that the bills that our people are having to pay. The government of this country should be thinking about the people of this country and saying, well, actually, if we rush to this target, we're going to penalise the working people of this country in a way that is unaffordable. Meanwhile, Norway is one of the richest countries in the world.
And of course, we're happy for steel to be made in India that could be made here, and all the rest of it. Just sort of final thought on this. Is the worm turning? Is there now a much more rational debate around this? Because it feels like there is to me.
Well, the rational debate brings the 2 points made together. If you want to tackle net zero and care about the environment, you need to be prosperous. Norway will do more than the UK to tackle the climate crisis than we will, because we're wasting all our money on very expensive technology that doesn't work very well. That's the problem with the net zero argument. It's all about top-down central planning and telling people what to do.
We're going to come back to this subject. Thank you very much indeed, Andy, for coming in and talking to us today. The What the Farage moment. Well, let's talk about Oxford Street, shall we? Yeah, why not? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the lights being displayed in Oxford Street. What can we see? So there you are. There are the lights in Oxford Street. And if you drive through central London, you will not see any word used like Christmas. It doesn't exist. It's been erased from the capital city. Lots of pretty stars, but nothing else at all. And yet other religious festivals that take place in the capital under Mayor Khan are more than happy to put up their big signs saying Happy Ramadan, Happy Eid, Happy Ramadan. You can see it there on the screen. And that is just quite extraordinary that we have a Mayor of London who is happy to celebrate every other religious festival around the world, but just not Christmas. Can't be right, Diane, can it?
Well, if you were right, if what you're saying, I just saw an angel. I just saw an angel there. But there's an interesting story about the light, about the stars, because of course there's a wonderful new piece out, whether you've seen it, about what the star was that took the wise men into Bethlehem. But traditionally we thought it was a comet. Was it all? That's what they think it was now. Was a comet, and they found some old Chinese writings from about the time of Christ, possibly 5 centuries before. And that explains the star and how it hovered over there. So
we're deep in history tonight, aren't we?
I'm not sure it explains the
look, you see, we've got stars here.
It's a wonderful distraction away from... I mean, Khan's ghastly, isn't he?
No, he's not.
Look, the fact is... Look, can I just say as well, there's been a discussion this week about, is this country a Christian country?
Yes.
Legally and constitutionally, it is, because we have an established church with the sovereign as supreme governor of the church. It is a Christian country. There oughtn't to be double standards. If other religions are able to have their decorations up, then there's no reason. Look, the King was actually at Westminster Abbey this week at a service marking the fact that Christians are being persecuted around the world. I think it's important that people of all faiths can celebrate their festivals properly.
I agree with that, but it's not happening in London. Christmas has been cancelled in London. It's official.
It hasn't in my household.
We're allowed a few pretty stars, and next week Diane will give us a very long history lecture on this comet, which is absolutely fascinating. I knew about the Battle of Hastings comet, but hey, enough history. In a moment, it's a sport that was absolutely massive on the television back in the 1980s. It was the annual World Darts Championship. And in 1983, a young qualifier who nobody ever heard of, called Keith Deller, came from nowhere to beat all the big guys and to win. Then I think darts had a big decline, but suddenly, with Luke Littler, it's back, and millions of people are watching darts again. Keith Deller joins us in just a moment.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
It's the World Darts Championship. I'm joined down the line by Keith Deller, MBE, darts legend, and of course winner of the World Championship back in 1983. Keith, who's been on this programme before, who came from absolutely nowhere. Seems to me, Keith, that darts is having a big resurgence and that possibly a lot of it is to do with a guy called Luke Littler.
That's definitely right, Nigel. I think that I remember maybe going back 5 years, we were talking about Michael Van Gogh all the time. Before there was Phil Taylor, but it's I'm here at the World Championships now, and there's a lot of adults got Luke Littler shirts on, which, you know, we expect all the youngsters to have it on, but the impact that he's made in the world of darts. It's just never been done before. And he's just a great breath of fresh air. He's absolutely making darts just go so well wide than it always has been. And now the way he plays, he's very laid back, Nigel. He doesn't get too uptight, doesn't seem to practice too much. He's just like a machine and a genius, really.
No, I mean, it's wonderful. And as I said, millions, again, are watching darts on the telly. But what I want to know, Keith, I think about all the pubs closing around the country, so many clubs finding it impossible to survive. What is actually happening to the game at grassroots level?
Well, there's so many youngsters taking it up now. There's a lot of youth tournaments. It's ridiculous, Nigel, that how many youngsters now want to play darts because of Luke. And it's like that there is a problem. The pubs now, I mean, in our day, I'd do 100 exhibitions in the pubs. Now they're all food pubs, and sadly, the pubs are going. I mean, we're getting no help from the government at all in the entertainment business. And the problem is now that they're all going to be closing the way they're going. And it's sad because people would go and have a pint and have a game of darts. And that was a tradition of England. That's gone.
Yeah.
And really, for me, a lot of my work now is just corporate because the pubs and clubs, can't afford to book the pros because they're not making the money. So
no.
On the other side, the youngsters, now these youth clubs are around the country. I mean, there's 9-year-old children, they're hitting 9 dart perfect games. There was one young lad, I was told, in the Northwest, played in the local pub. I think he was 13. He missed double 18 for a 9 darter in the league match, and then he hit it the following week. I had one in 45 years.
Very good. Keith, thanks for joining us. Hope it's a great World Championship. I'm sure it will be. And, we've talked about pubs many times on this show. It's quite sad in a way. But he did say youth clubs are now playing darts, and that's good.
Well, one of the great things about it, of course, is it's very cheap to learn. You don't have to offer equipment. You don't even need a big table like over snooker. Yeah. You can just have a dartboard and you can do it anywhere. I mean, it's nicer if you're doing it in a pub rather than in a bedroom. I think it's great that it's out and about.
I agree with... Look, darts is great. It's the only sport I've got the physique for. And I think it's great for that. Look, I think Luke Littler is... I don't know, because he's obviously a top lad. I think he was at the House of Commons recently doing a charity thing for prostate cancer with Greg Smith MP and others. So he's clearly a really top lad, and he's encouraging... The viewing figures for darts have shot up, apparently.
And what was said there by Keith, he was 16 when he broke onto the stage, nearly won the World Championship, won it last year, he's 18 this year, he's hot favourite to win. But it's the fact that he behaves so well.
He looks like he's enjoying it.
Yeah, but whether in victory, even in defeat, he takes it all on his stride.
He hasn't let it go to his head.
And that's because often if you sort of become a superstar in youth, it may not be a good thing.
He must have a special family, I think.
Well, I don't know what the background is apart, but I know he's perhaps a little overweight when he hit the scene, which was talked about quite a lot, but no, it's a good thing. So, what's your favourite sport on telly?
Tennis, I'm afraid.
Wimbledon?
Yeah, afraid so.
We're a funny country, We don't follow tennis, but we love Wimbledon.
I know. Well, it's partly that we do it properly, and we do still wear the white clothes. Yeah. I'm not into all this coloured stuff and that. I want it.
I agree,
exactly
Diane, with that. Wimbledon,
white clothes.
keep the whites.
I want it absolutely. I like the properness of it, but also. Sorry, I'm going to mention another channel, but the BBC commentary just really takes you through the game and the expertise and all of that. No. And if you watch it in another country, their commentators and their camera angles are nothing like
these traditions like the Grand National, these big, they're national occasions, and why not? I think it's all great fun.
I have to say, I love them all.
Yeah, I thought you would.
I've attended pretty much every single sporting event over the years, and I'm going to come clean with the audience. Yes, I was at the Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi on Sunday, and I was very, very fortunate to be a guest of McLaren and to meet Lando's mum and dad, who were lovely people, and to go into the garage and the pits. And amazing. Formula One, 7 of the 11 major teams are based in the United Kingdom. Formula One is worth at least £12 billion a year to the British economy, and we've managed to produce 11 individual world champions. So, sometimes we can get down in the mouth and say we're no good at things. Formula One, we are absolutely the best in the world at. Sadly, cricket We're not doing quite so well down under. It's almost become a bit of a national embarrassment. Now, coming up next, State of the Nation, it's Alex Armstrong tonight. Alex, what will you be talking about?
Yeah, thanks, Nigel. We've got an exclusive bombshell new poll done by the Women's Policy Centre on what women really think about illegal migration. It is damning across the board and across political party spectrums as well, Nigel. People are going to be really surprised reading this one. I think I've also got a clip of the Chancellor, who looks like she's been caught red-handed again, flip-flopping on some of her manifesto pledges. Last year she said that raising income tax thresholds wouldn't be a break in the manifesto pledge, although she was being scrutinised by the Treasury Committee just the other day, and it looks like she might have changed course a little bit and also dragged the Prime Minister down with her.
Well, I thought she was doing that quite effectively. On that poll, so is this a sign that all the stories we get in the news 2 or 3 times a week, maybe more, about sexual violence against women coming from, you know, young men from Afghanistan, is that what this is really all about?
Yes, well, it does go into how dangerous women feel, or how dangerous women feel the illegal migration issue is. And the number is astounding, Nigel. It is an astronomical number.
This is an exclusive poll, is it?
Exclusive poll. We're going to bring it to you live next.
Well, very good. Well, we do a lot of exclusive polls on this programme. I mean, the one we did tonight said that Diane's going to lose her job very, very quickly. Quick thought on that. Very interesting, isn't it? That if the attitudes of women are changing because of these constant horrendous news stories.
Well, I think the good thing is that we're asking women. I think that's really good, and it's really nice. We so rarely see polls that bother to ask us about anything.
Indeed.
So
really?
Yes. So congratulations.
I think it's very valuable. Well done, Alex. And I actually think it's no surprise, though, because the concern across the board, no matter what gender or what age range, is real. Young people who go out at night and perhaps are more socially active in the later hours are very concerned about their own safety. People of all ages are. And this is a deep concern that has to be addressed.
Not good. It's over and out from me. Before Alex, let's get the all-important weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We do have an area of